Okay, so I almost didn't want to make this video. Not because I don't understand the topic, and not because I don't know what to say, but because of who it's about. You can probably tell from the title that this is going to be about Pete Hoekstra. I know many of you are saying just ignore the guy, or don't give him any airtime. Be honest, I don't like that approach. Why? Because that's exactly what a bully wants. They want you to stay quiet. They want the last punch, and they want the last word. So they can walk away feeling like a big man. Well, I'm punching back today. And my reward after this video is going to be a nice cold Tiger beer, which happens to be the most popular beer here in Malaysia. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Today's backdrop comes from Boomerang, who is from our Discord server and took this photo from Batchewana Bay, Ontario. I can only see the photo, but I can almost feel the cold, crisp air when I breathe it in. I know Kay from Hong Kong, who I interviewed recently, will know exactly what I'm talking about. Thanks for sending this over on the Discord server, Boomerang. All right, let's take a deep breath. And let's get into the Hoekstra interview.
So I guess one of the things that I struggle with is the tone, right? And the treatment towards Canada, especially when it comes from the president, right? Because I feel like in the grand lottery of planet Earth, the United States hit the jackpot. Like, your neighbor is not North Korea, it's not Iran, it's not China, it's Canada. By the way, it goes both ways. Like, Canada,
it goes both ways.
You know, Canada hit the jackpot. You know, your neighbor is our neighbor is the United States, and we've been there in your times of need. I know this is the 25th anniversary of 9/11, and you've talked before about the role Canadians had in supporting the United States on that day.
I've never heard Hoekstra speak about 9/11 and what Canada contributed. If anyone can find that, send me an email.
So, you know, as I've described it, we've both hit the jackpot, and it feels like we may be throwing it away with some of this acrimony. How would you describe it?
I think that my parents were liberated by Canadians.
Yes.
I bring that up frequently.
I might get flamed for this, but I would really hate to be your parents and see what you've grown up to be. Flame me all you want, but I'm just saying this out loud. And I'm sure there might be a few people already thinking this.
In Groningen. And so, yeah, there is a strong foundation, and it's now being, reviewed as we go through CUSMA. Mm-hmm. And as you go into a negotiation, as you review, you both come in with, your strong suit. And so I'm optimistic about where it ends up. I mean, it's the president says we don't need it.
Yeah.
Okay, but at the end of the day, even if we decided we're leaving USMCA, and we've, the president and his trade negotiator have made it very clear, all options are on the table. I think Canada views it the same way. All options are on the table.
Have you had a discussion with the president about the tone aspect? Because that seems to me like could even be an easy fix on pressing the reset button.
Okay, let me ask a hypothetical question to all Canadians watching. The interviewer asked if the orange potato were to change his tone towards Canada, lift the tariffs, take back the 51st state talk, apologize, and stop the madness. Would things go back to quote-unquote normal? Here's my take on it. Fuck no. You see, the orange potato is just a mouthpiece. He just happens to be in one of the most powerful positions in the world, and unfortunately he has access to nukes. But more importantly, he also has access and brainwashed 77 million people into voting for him. And even if he were to reverse everything, to me, the true colors of the right have already come out. And that's not something that's going to change, at least not in my lifetime. So in my view, we're already past the point of no return. And even if the orange potato is in the ground, the rhetoric, the disrespect, and everything else will continue through those 77 million, their kids, and their kids after them, and so on. If you agree with me on this take, let me know in the comments. And just FYI, I'm just picking a random name for him every video. I really just don't want to say his name anymore. So today is going to be the orange potato.
I've not had a discussion with the president on the tone. The president is his own messenger.
Yeah.
Okay, and he will take input. We provide him.
So what you're trying to say, Pete, is that you're scared of him, right?
Regular updates on things going on, but it's not just the president. Okay, from my perspective, I read lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Canadian stuff that Canadians say about the United States of America.
Yeah.
I look at what Canadian government, provincial governments are doing to the United States. It doesn't make me very happy, but Canadians are free to do what they want.
Can you give me an example or two on that end that is on the top of that list for you?
Here's where the gaslighting starts, just to give you guys a heads up. But think of it this way. He's on a radio show talking directly to Canadians. And a lot of Canadians listening live were probably yelling at the radio or telling him to F off. Those Canadians sitting in their cars didn't get their voices heard. So I'm going to do it for them and for you watching right now. I don't take bullying very well these days. I was bullied and gaslit as a kid, and I stayed quiet. Looking back, that was probably a mistake for me. And that's something that still sticks with me to this day. Well, I'm not going to stay quiet anymore when it comes to the bullies.
In terms of tone
and decisions, what you just referenced, the things that you're reading.
Sure. I mean, I think you have premiers who attack the president personally. Okay? I am not aware of the president's team, governors, or the folks that work out of the embassy attacking Mark Carney. We respect him as the leader of Canada.
So when your president called the former Prime Minister of Canada, the Governor of Canada, that was okay? I really wish the interviewer asked him this question on the spot.
You have folks that just absolutely trash the president, who are in key government officials.
Your orange potato president has threatened and is still continuing to threaten to annex our country. So how can you blame Canada for any of this when you and your exceptionalism-driven country continues to threaten nations around the world? Are we just supposed to sit back and take it? Hoekstra, you are a gaslighting piece of shit. And this Canadian right now talking is not going to take your crap coming out of your mouth anymore. We have every right to defend our country from these threats. So don't throw it back on Canada and blaming us for hurting the orange potato's feelings.
And that's a decision they make. I don't like it, but if that's what they want to do, that's what they can do.
There have been some indications that U.S. sectors have been hurt by the current state of relations between the country. I looked at one recent poll that shows like a 70-20 split on keeping U.S. booze off Canadian shelves. 70% of Canadians in favor, only 20% oppose that. And of course, that hurts U.S. booze manufacturers.
Sure.
How do you view that aspect, that there are U.S. companies hurting because of all this?
Well, I think, it's absolutely appropriate for Canada to retaliate. We have banned so many Canadian products in the United States of America. Oh, wait a minute. No, we haven't. Okay. We haven't banned any American products in Canada. Excuse me. We haven't banned any Canadian products in America.
Yeah.
The reason you haven't banned any Canadian products in the United States is because Canada isn't threatening to call you the 11th province. We also haven't imposed ridiculous tariffs. And we don't have an idiot for a prime minister. Well, we almost did, but we don't. So again, Pete Hoekstra, your argument and you're blaming Canada completely misses the point. We didn't start this. You said it yourself that Canada has every right to retaliate. You always seem to overlook the 51st state garbage and the tariffs that is coming from your Sith Lord.
We do not have the president's team or governor saying, don't travel to America. If you go into a store, pick up a box and take a look, and if it says made in America, put it back. We don't do that. But again,
this was not mandated by our government. Canadians were not ordered to boycott U.S. products or boycott U.S. travel. What you're seeing is Canadians doing this on their own. So you can stop blaming the Canadian government for it, you lying sack of shit.
If Canada's negotiating position, and they believe that this strengthens their negotiating position to ban American products, encourage their citizens not to travel to the United States, that's their negotiating position, and it kind of sets a tone for the relationship.
All right, let's talk about...
You see how he's trying to blame the current tone between our two countries on the Canadian boycott of the U.S., twisting it around and saying that our government told us to do this, and that the Canadian government is using it as a negotiation tactic. I mean, look at the smug smile on his face. He's lying directly to every single one of us. This is exactly what a bully does. He twists things around to make it feel like the victim is at fault. And what's scary is that there's millions just like this guy in the US. Now let's hear Pete Hoekstra talk about the preclearance. You remember a few months ago when he threatened to remove preclearance from our airports. People called him out on it. I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was someone that was on a panel with him. And I'm glad he did call him out. Because if no one says anything, he's just going to keep doubling down. Let's take a look.
I love the analysis sometimes, when someone says, Pete, do you think that there's any possibility that there may be changes in preclearance?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, well, yeah, as premiers are, pounding their chest and saying, we have decreased traffic to the United States by air by 21%. It's kind of like, does that have an impact? And it's like, we're trying to run the government more like a business.
And the guy running your country has how many failed businesses? I mean, he bankrupted a casino where the odds are always in favor of the house.
All right. So the first question would be, is if you drove the traffic all the way down to zero, do you think we would still have 100 pre-clearance officers in XYZ city? And the answer is probably not. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, if it goes down 50%, would you reevaluate? And it's like, yeah, probably. Mm-hmm. At some, because you get the different break points. And people then say, the ambassador's threatening Canada to close preclearance. It's kind of like, no, I'm a business guy. If the traffic went down by a significant portion, I'd have to report to Washington and say, our resources may be better spent somewhere else. Mm-hmm. That's not a threat. It's a pure business analysis.
To an extent, he does have a point. If border crossings were to go to zero, which is highly unlikely, because we still have business travelers, people visiting family, and those who just don't give a shit, then yes, there would be no need for preclearance. But let's be clear. We're talking about Pete Hoekstra here. This is someone who always falls back on, I'm joking, or relax, or it's just a joke, every time he gets himself into hot water. So I take anything coming out of this guy's mouth as a threat, and that's because I have zero respect for him. Now lastly, Hoekstra talks about how Canada went along with 100% tariffs on China EVs in the past. Yo, please, I'm almost done. And to me, the tone sounds like we're glad Canada obeyed. Let's take a look.
About that right now as you're here in Montreal. Prime Minister of Canada Mark Carney is in China. I've heard your thoughts on how China does trade. A lot of people believe that China cheats on trade. Lo and behold, we have...
Well, who cheats on trade more nowadays?
Canada seemingly opening up more doors to China. How do you view that the Prime Minister of Canada right now is in China trying to find a replacement for U.S. trade?
We do business with China. Canada, is more than welcome to do business with China. Again, you're a sovereign country. If you want to do business with China and you see China...
But you brought up the dumping, right? And steel, right? China dumps steel into Canada, then Canada may be dumping steel into the U.S., right? So that's the link
I think I think what we would like to see, and our view would be, and we've had these discussions with Canada, is that we would like to see a coherent strategy versus the threats that we believe come from China.
Now, I recently did a video on the China tariffs and the trade progress, and I'm glad our Prime Minister has made moves away from the United States. But ask yourself this, who's the biggest threat right now, not just to Canada, but to the rest of the world? Because it sure as hell isn't China at the moment. It's the country that this guy holds a passport to.
And, Canada was very supportive on autos, on EVs. Okay, we put in a tariff regime. Canada followed suit. Very similar, if not identical. Obviously, we would view that as a positive development because, much of this is the economic bloc of North America. Mm-hmm.
Well, the economic bloc of North America is down the shitter because of your president. So there's no reason for Canada to stay loyal to your fascist country any longer. We all know there was probably an expectation that Canada would follow on the EV tariffs, and we did. We also detained the Huawei CEO at the request of the United States, which did absolutely nothing to help the relations between Canada and China. So moving forward, I really hope we stop continuing to do favors for the United States. Our Prime Minister's trade deal, lifting the EV tariffs, is the first real step in breaking that expectation from the United States. Now let's hear what Hoekstra expects from our Prime Minister moving forward.
So, what Mark Carney is doing in Canada is, I'm hoping that there's a clarity between Mark and the president as to what Canada is trying to achieve. There's an openness and a sharing. Doesn't mean that Canada is going to do exactly what we want or the president wants.
But that's what you want us to do. Do what you want, right?
But that there's an understanding of, we go there, this may be the U.S. response.
And we've heard reports that Canada is considering removing those EV tariffs on Chinese-made EVs. Would you view that as a bad thing for the future of any Canada-U.S. trade deal?
No, I think it would have if you're allowing EVs and other vehicles to come in from China, I would say don't necessarily expect that the U.S. border is going to be porous and allow Chinese vehicles to come through China and pour into the United States. No.
I don't think that was a plan. I wouldn't expect the US to be buying China EVs from Canada at all. Now, does he mean stopping anyone driving a Chinese EV from entering the United States? I don't know. But regardless of that, there should be no more expectation from Pete Hoekstra or the Orange Potato about what Canada does moving forward. We all know this idiot is going to continue to run his mouth, talk down to Canadians, gaslight us, and tell us we're causing all of this because of our boycott. But like I said earlier in this video, I'm not going to let this guy run his mouth on our home soil. And I don't think anyone else should either. He is a bully, and so is his boss. And quite frankly, so is the entire US administration and their following. There are people protesting in Minnesota against ICE, and more protests around their country. I hope this keeps up, and honestly needs to escalate. Because if you don't push back, bullies will just continue moving forward until they gain more power. And the same goes for Hoekstra as well. I'm honestly tired of doing videos of this guy. I can feel my blood pressure boiling right now. But I have a platform where I can call him out on his bullshit, and I'm going to continue to do that. I am sorry if this video is a bit edgier, but I genuinely hate how this guy keeps blaming Canada and my fellow citizens. Alright, that's it for today. If you found any value in anything I vented about today, help out the channel by hitting the like and subscribe button below. I'm going to go get that beer now. It's Saturday night as I'm recording this, and I think I've earned it. Have a great rest of the day, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.